benefit of it. See how we've got the keys. See how each object is a key and then the value. And the value is the object itself. So what I can actually do now is watch. I'll register people endpoint for getting all people, yeah? So this is going to be a get one. So it's going to be, as opposed to the post one, it's going to be a get localhost people. Does that make sense? Yeah, so what do I do to do that? Well, the first thing I do is I go app, I want to register it, and I go get, yeah? See how I've done that? Now what arguments do you need when you register an endpoint? Sorry?
When you register an endpoint.
Yeah, so when this get thing registers an endpoint, does that make sense? It registers a route. It adds a route to my website, yeah? So what are the two arguments you need to provide when you want to register a new endpoint?
Request and response.
Sorry, the path. And what's the path for this one going to be? People. So notice how it's the same as the post one, except it's different methods, right? And then what's the second argument you've got to give it? The handler function, yeah? And what parameters do I need for the handler function?
Request and response.
Request, response, yeah? And now I've got a handler function, yeah? Does that make sense? See, once you get familiar with it and you do it a few times, as alien as it looks the first time, it starts making more sense. Yeah, Maitland?
Will that handle function need to be async like the post function?
It will. It will, yeah? And I'll show you why. Because what we want to do now with the get people is we want to get all of the people that have been stored. Does that make sense? Yeah? So, there's an easy way for us to do that, and let me show you. You can go let people equals await storage dot, check this out, values. And what values does is values will go through all of these files and it will just pull out the value objects. Does that make sense? So if we have a look, it'll pull out just the value. Yeah? It won't pull out the key, just the value. So now we have a look here. I need to make this async, correct? Yep. And now all I have to do is simple response, yep, dot JSON, and what do I pass in? People. So let me put an endpoint there, a breakpoint, sorry, and let me run it. Now watch this. I'll go up to here. See, I've still got the post. Yeah. I'll just change it to get. Now don't worry about the body because the body just doesn't really get, look, I'll change it to none, but it doesn't matter, yeah? Because it's going to hit the get request one, yeah? I'll go send. See how I've hit the get request one? And see how storage.values, look what it's returned me. Look. See how I've got Fred? And see how that is the 0 item. And if you have a look in my files, you can see that's this value, isn't it? See that? That's that object, yeah? Then we have a look, people. You see I've got the second object, and who's the second object? Little Sue, yeah? So now, I send that back, and look what we've got. Pretty cool, huh? So can you see why I add the ID again in the person? Because when we go just dot values, it doesn't return the key. So if I stash it in the person as well, you know what I mean? When it's returned, we know what it is, yeah? So ideally, what you'll do, and what works well as a pattern, is you'll use whatever the ID is for the value object that you're stashing, you'll use its ID as the key.
So basically, in the first thing, we created logic for post request, and in the second, we just create a logic for get request.
Yeah, to get all people.
That our say server to our server, we needed to understand what we want from them.
Well, The order of these two doesn't matter. What matters is whether you set it up as a post request or a get request.
I don't mean like the order, I mean like we need to create it so like the server understands what we want from him when we're sending requests.
Yeah, we've got to implement a handler to handle the request.
Yeah, like just the logic.
Yeah, whatever logic we want to handle that request, whatever it needs to do. Yeah, mate.
So for that, the handler in the get statement, is it required to have that request argument? Or can
Yes. Because if you don't put the request object there and you just do that, the first argument that gets passed in would be the request. Doesn't matter what you've named it, right? It's going to express, if you recall here and how it passes it, when it calls this, it's going to pass in the order of express object and response object. So you always just add request and response. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's more about the order of them. Does that make sense? The first argument, parameter is always going to be the request object. The second one's always going to be the response. Yeah. How's everyone doing with that? Okay. I'll come around and have a look. Yeah. Sorry? I changed it from a post request to a get request. See, that's where you set what type of request you're doing. Does that make sense? Yep. You'll just ignore it anyway. Just if you go send. Yeah, you got a break point there. There you go. If you go send. See how you're not even using the request, so it doesn't matter if something is sent, but because the headship dipping method was get, it hit this one, not that one.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Give only one response.
You can only give the one response. Okay? But you can build up whatever data you want in that response. Does that make sense? You only, like, so it works like this, Andre, right? Request, response,
Yeah,
right? So your response, what's in the body of it, right? You can shape whatever data you want in there. So if you want a data and message, just create another object and put both of those in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see.
Bundle them in another object, yeah?
That's
Curly braces to create a new object.
great.
Yeah. And then whatever name you want to pick, whatever. You doing good? You've got to step over that one more line.
Yeah, I was just, I put that in so that I could see if there was actually anything
There, it's there.
there.
Yeah. It's still there, you're just not using
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's.
We will in a minute though, because I'm going to show you how to pass in parameters without parameters. You doing okay?
You know, just playing around with.
Yeah, good. That's good. Nando? All particularly good? Well, show me your server. You hit a breakpoint. You got to press continue. Get through it. There you go. Go back to the time down. Go send again. Now you've hit the breakpoint, have you? Go to your server. Oh, look. What are you? Come on. Come on. It's a comma. Yeah.
Coffee still on.
Hold on. Should have me how I slapped you around yesterday.
I blame you for everything.
Yeah. I'm blamable for everything. I'm good for it. There you go. How's that?
That's me.
Is that it? Yes. Press continue. Look at that. Testing.
Oh, it's test.
Testing.
Portuguese.
Oh, for test, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. There you go. All right.
Hey, so if I, is this how you create another one, another person, and then you?
Well, you'd want to change it to be post. and you'd want to go to the body, and you'd want to put no, but you're trying to create two there. You can only do one.
One at a time.
One at a time.
Oh, okay. So
One at a
if I were
time.
to do,
Then you'd call it multiple times.
oh, okay, in the
Like, let's say you had a method, right? In C# called random.next. Yeah? Now, if you wanted to get two values out of it, you call it twice.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right? If you want to create two records, you
Yeah.
do two HTTP requests.
so-
One, then the next one.
So it's I would have to double up on the app post.
Sorry?
So I'd have to create two
No,
of these.
no, you actually physically do the second request. Like, you don't change the code. Like, you
okay.
call it once, and then you call it again. You press send once on Postman,
But-
then you change the data and you press send again.
But-
Each time you create one person at a time.
Okay.
We're not adding the functionality to create multiple people. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? If you look at the code here that we've written just pulls out one person out of the
It's
body.
already-
Yeah? Gets the ID, sets it, yeah? If we wanted one to create multiple people, well then we would have to actually get the body loop through it.
Yeah.
For each, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For each, but we're not setting up that functionality. You typically don't. Right?
I'm trying to figure out what happens if you duplicate app posts twice. Does it do?
Then you'll actually get an error.
Yeah.
And you go to start it up, and it'll say it's ambiguous. You can't have app. Watch. I'll do it here. You can't have just everyone. So everyone knows you can't have the same route name and the same method twice. You can't have the same route and the same method twice.
Okay.
So watch this. Watch what happens if I try and do this twice. See how here I've got app.get with people. Yeah. Right. Now watch what I started up. Right, now watch, I'll put the breakpoint at both of them, yeah?
Yeah.
And if I go here, and I go send, now notice how it's hit the top one,
Yeah.
not the bottom one? So you can't have them twice, because it always just hit the
The
first one. Does that make sense? Alright, now in other applications, I'm actually surprised Express didn't throw an error when I started it up because of that. Because in other technologies, if you register the same endpoint twice, it'll actually won't even start up. It'll
Right.
just throw an error. So you can't register the same endpoint name for the same method twice. Why? Because it's ambiguous. Right? Because imagine if I had two students called, Fred in the classroom, and I went, hey Fred, which one?
Yeah.
Right? So if you've got two methods, it's the same rules that you can't have two signatures, two methods with the same signature in C#. Why? Because it makes it ambiguous, right?
But you can have one that's called just, for example, just the ID, and another one that's called everything.
Yes, so I'm going to show you the one with just the ID, yeah? And we'll go over this more next week, but I've got this in the video. But this now, I'm going to introduce you to what we call route parameters. And route parameters are the same concept, right, as method parameters. Okay, except when we call this handler, at the moment we just get the request and the response passed in, yeah? But let's say we want to pass some additional data. So you're saying at the moment what I've got is when I call it, it gets all people. See that? What if I just want to get one person? So the typical way that you would do that, let me create one more person. Okay, so what name will we create for this person? Who should we do? Come on. Huh?
Jibba.
Jibba?
Yeah.
Was that you, Maitland?
That's what I used to have.
How old's Jibba?
32.
Jibba's 32. How tall's Jibba?
139.
139.
Yeah.
139.5?
Yeah.
Okay, and title for Jibba?
BFG.
Huh?
BFG.
BFG? Big Friendly Giant?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, mine's not running, so I better start it. Here we go. I've hit the breakpoint. Yep. Oh, I've hit that breakpoint. Let's continue. Try again. I've hit this breakpoint now. Here we go. Alright, my post, see that? Here's my gibber. Gibber's done. And if I go there, you can see I've got gibber now. See that? Yep. So now just a bit of a dummy test. I'll change it to be a get request. See how I change from post to get. Send. I've hit the breakpoint. Let me get rid of that breakpoint and play. And can you see how I've got all three of them now? See that? Okay, now let's say I just want to get one of them. Yeah? Let me show you how to do that. So, the way that you do it is I'm going to go app.get again. Now what I'm going to do here is just as an example, just to show you, for getting, oh, I missed an I up here, for getting a single person, yeah, by ID, okay? Now what I'm going to do here is this would actually be, if we have a look at an example, so you can see little Sue's ID, yeah? Now the way that we want to do it, and the way it's typically done, is that would be the route that we're after. So it would be the server, yeah? Then the endpoint, but then we would have what we call a route parameter. Does that make sense? Now to do this though, this is where you've got to watch very carefully how it's done, okay? So to do this, to add this route parameter, you first need to do a /, okay? Then what you need to do to say that in this part of the path, okay, so far in the path we've just got the word people, but in this part of the path we're also going to pass in what will be the ID. So see, putting the colon in there, right? What that does is it says that something else is going to come, yeah? Now, how do I get that value? Well, I would get it by doing this. I would go let ID equals request dot parems, yeah, dot ID. Now, see how I called this ID here? Like ID, yeah? Whatever you call it here is whatever it's going to be called here. So let me show you something. So watch. If I call this Bob Marley, right? Well then, the request object parems will have something called Bob Marley. And it'll be whatever value they've put there. Does that make sense? Yeah? If I call it chicken dinner, right? Then, if someone makes a request, right? Can you see how it's got /people, /people, yeah? / and then that colon means that it's a parameter, whatever the parameter is. And whatever name I give it is whatever name it will be as a property of this parems object, yeah? It's more about, this part of it here is more about registering the pattern of the route. Does that make sense? It registers the pattern, and in this case I've got people and then a parameter, yeah? And it knows it's a parameter because I put the colon in front of it, yeah? Okay, so, but typically what we'll call it is just ID. Does that make sense to everyone, yeah? So now that I've got that, I can go let person equal await storage dot get item, and guess what it needs? The key. Yeah, and then I just go response dot JSON, and I send back the person. Do you want to see this in play? Start it up. We're all good. So you can see people. See how if I go get, it returns me all of them. See that? Now let's just get Sue's ID. Yeah. Now notice how I paste it up there as part of the route. So localhost people, and I pass in the ID. Now I go send. Now I've hit the breakpoint, and look, if I look at my request, you'll see that it's got a parems object, and see how that parems has got the thing called ID, and see how it's the value that I pasted in. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And the name of it ID is purely because of the name that I put it here in this string. Yeah? Like I said, you could call that whatever you want. Yeah? Okay, so now I've got that ID. Can you see I've got the value? Yep. Now I want to get the person with that ID. You see I've got the person, little Sue. I go continue. And check it out. little Sue. See that? So if I now get rid of this and I request it again, look, send, little Sue. Yeah? I get rid of the ID, send, all of them. Let's get Fred's ID. I get Fred's ID. I add it to the end. Go send, just Fred. So that is the single person. Yep. Is that pretty straightforward? Take a bit of thinking to mull over the week. So we're going to try something new, Peter. Next week what we're going to do is we're going to do a challenge. Yeah? And what we're going to do is come in and you're all going to be blindfolded and you're going to be given half an hour to create a little Express app. Yeah? Blindfolded. You'll need to use the force. No. Moral to the story is I want you to just try and practice at least doing these, yeah? So for next week, we'll go through it together.
Yep.
But what I don't want you doing next week is looking at existing code or copies that I've given you. You can look at the Express website, you can look at the Node Persist one, you know what I mean? You can practice, but if you're stuck, I'd rather that I come up and assist you than you just copy without. Does that make sense? Because it's about the learning, isn't it? Yeah? So it's not an assessment next week. I'll put it that way. Yeah? It's more just about, you know, getting familiar and getting the habit and memorizing the process of knocking up an Express app with a little bit of persistence. Yeah. Sorry?
Let's see.
Okay, so can I look at your
Yes.
oh, I have just got some started. So anytime you make a change in the server, you need to. Yeah. God. You don't need to do any assessments, you failed. That's it, the whole assessment. That's it. You didn't restart, like, come on. Isn't that IT 101? Stop it.
It is. Turn on, turn on.
Turn on, turn on. I tell you, like, the programming between the morning, like, you just start making the stupidest mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, things like that, and you just like, you try all of these things, and you've forgotten something stupid, like this.
So much. We need to create a function for each, like.
You need to create a function for each function, Andre, and then a function for that
each
function.
request. Like, cause like, he doesn't know how to do anything but like find all people, person by ID, and like put the data inside.
See if you can do one to add an endpoint. See if you can do an endpoint to delete the person. Now, I'll tell you, all you need to delete a person is their ID. All you need is the key. Yeah?
Listen, I need your help to find something.
Why? So my problem
Is your server running?
why am I every time trying to create a new person,
Server? It's not even running.
I only get one ID.
No,
I only get
As in,
it doesn't create
it
another
doesn't create.
JS.
every time.
Can you try again? Stop everything and start all over.
Okay. I'll
Show me how you create your person.
So my person, I go here. I can do send.
Okay, that's your problem. Because you're not creating a person, you're
Okay.
requesting
Okay.
for the data.
So
Okay?
this is a new person. I had Fred before,
Okay.
and then it goes cannot view.
And you go to your code.
Yeah. So I'm now into posting.
So,
Did you?
can anyone
Oh,
do
sorry.
a
Did
function
you run
to
your?
delete
Did you run your
person?
code?
Yeah, I believe I have.
It's not hard. I've already shown you everything you need for it.
Okay. And then did you try posting?
Again?
Yep.
Yeah.
You've got to send a response though, or something. So the response could be,
This is policy.
you could just go response dot send.
Okay, step
And
through.
send you can put text in there. You can just put a message post in there.
Press continue, which is step
Does that
first
make
one.
sense?
That one?
You have to send a response.
Yeah, there you go. You
Otherwise,
got a
the
second
browser
person.
client just doesn't know.
Wait,
It's just
wait,
really
okay.
hard.
How do you know? How did you know?
I saw it before you clicked. Before you changed
Wow,
the
that was
screen.
quick. Yeah, oh sweet. So what was I just didn't let it run through? Is that what?
It's because when you use Postman, instead of posting a new person, you are trying to get information because it was get that you sent. You sent a get request.
Okay, so
So then the second time when you changed it to get and you click send, you are actually not running the code.
yes,
So that's why it didn't work. So you have to run the code first and then
run the code first,
and then you send your request,
and then I send my request.
your post request, yep. And then that's why it registered that time.
Now I see the picture like that.
Yeah.
Ah, so that's what they're all. Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Alright. How do I delete now? Let's go.
And just grab one. And hit delete. That's it, send. Yeah, done. Remove true. Listed true. Deleted. It's fine. Yeah, because that makes it better, because it's no longer exists, but it's still open in the editor.
Yeah.
The actual source is gone. Yeah. Good? Yeah. Now, see if you can do an update. Update, right, is a put request. And for that, you typically pass in the ID and then the object that you want to update. And in storage, you pass in the ID and then the new object. I'm gonna go over that next week. Yeah, I'm gonna go over update, delete from that next week. I'll probably show everyone delete, but oh look, Amanda's gone for delete already, or for update. Go. So except you need remove item, not.
Oh.
So the body parser has huge amounts of data. Turns the data that is from that is sent to the client into a basic object
That's right.
to be read by Express.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And-
right.
And body parser only takes in strings.
Well, the request body is only text, it's strings. Anything that comes into a system comes in as text. Nothing ever comes into a system as objects. It all comes in as text and it needs to be parsed to a data type that's recognized by the client, whether it be JavaScript or C#. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes. That is. Did you do not remove item? Yeah, but you're just getting an item. Because you're just getting one and returning that person. You want to go remove item, not get item, remove item. Yes.
So, I put a breakpoint here, but every time I run, it comes straight away here.
Yeah, that's because this is when you're registering it. If you want a breakpoint when you call it, the breakpoint's got to be inside this function. Yeah? Can't be this line, because this line runs when it first initializes. It runs that, and then that. Right? But this function in here, the handler, that's where you put the breakpoint when you make the request.
So in your code you have written, so.
But it's also the ID as well.
So it's up here, this line and this line together is what generates the ID. You don't have to write your ID at all, because it's all generated by your code. Right, so you can just put in the name. Or what
So what all it did was put a new key. It's the reason the name. I just had the only thing in my file was just tip on. I don't know. It didn't have any values on it. Yes.
That's fun. I just updated. I deleted everything and just updated the key.
Maintenance.
Okay, I'll show you the delete function. It's not hard. There we go. Register people for deleting a single person by ID. So this would be delete, and let me show you how I change it. See how I've got the get person, single person? Watch how I change the get single person to delete single person. Are you ready? So the first thing I'm going to do is I still need the ID, but instead of get item, I call remove item, isn't it? Remove item. See that? Now if I look at remove item, it just needs the key for the item that I want to remove, like the ID. And what does it return? A delete file result. See that? So this would be the result. Make sense? From the delete operation. So now let me return the result. Now what I'm going to show you is I'll whack a breakpoint in. I'll start it up.
Peter,
Yes?
you haven't changed the name of your app dot yet.
Ah, very good. I need to change it to be delete as well. See, I was testing.
Nice.
So, A minus for this one. There we go. Refresh. Okay, we all good? Here we go. So let me get all of the people first, yeah? So we can see who I've got. Alright, so who are we going to delete? Little Sue in the middle, yeah? So, watch this. I change this, and I put the / What else do I need to change?
Get to post.
No, to delete. See, delete. I'm going to use the delete method, yeah? I go send. I hit the breakpoint. See that? We pluck it out. See, I've hit ID. Now I go remove item. Now let's see what it's returned me. And you can see it's returned me an object which is the result. And it says, did it exist? Yes, I found one with that ID. Was I able to successfully remove it? Yes, I did delete it, yeah? What was the file that I deleted? That was the file. See that? So it was removed, yeah? And if I go here, you can see I've only got 2 now. See that? So I go continue. And now can you see the response that it gave me? Yeah? Now watch what happens when I call delete again. Right? What do you think is going to happen?
You won't delete anything because no key. There's
So
no
I
person.
go down. Let's look at the result. Existed false, remove false. Made sense? Yeah? And if I go continue, can you see that it's, you know what I mean? So at least I'm letting people know what happened. Make sense? Yeah? Now, one last one that I want to show you, and again, this is in the video. Yep.
Can you, does your app name have to actually be app.delete, or can you say app.subtract, for example?
No, it's got to be delete because the name here, right, you're registering an endpoint that will handle this path for this HTTP method. So this
That's a
method,
built-in method.
this is built in.
Oh, okay.
So post, get, and delete are built-in functions that you must use that line up to get, post, and delete. Does that make sense? So whatever method you use here, right? Because notice how they're all the same path, kind of, aren't they? Especially these two. Look, it's the same path, isn't it? Yeah. So how does it know this one or this one? Well, which HTTP method you're using. Yeah? Make sense? So the last one I want to show you, or Fernando, are you going to ask something?
Yeah, what's the difference between the storage, if you put storage dot delete?
Is there a storage dot delete?
Yes.
Does it work?
Right.
There's no function called delete. It's
Really item?
remove item. Yeah, it's remove item. Now, how did I know it wasn't delete item? How did I know it was remove item? I
Just
looked at the
gesture.
docs. Yeah?
Is that those pop out as the docs? What?
No,
Oh, the doc. Oh, okay.
I've put to node persist. Yeah? And then I read the documentation on it. Yeah? And I went down and I saw, okay, here's the documentation for it. You need to initialize it. Yeah? Here's how you get an item. Here's how you set an item. Here's how you update an item. Here's how you remove an item.
So you.
Make sense?
Actually, you do have to read the file code for my other thing.
Well, what happens if you do something else that is...
Oh man.
So it doesn't exist?
It's not that
That
simple.
exists, but it's not built in. I mean, that is built in, but say...
That's what the apps are for.
Say
Hey?
you did add, but then
That's
in
right.
the body of the function,
Documentations are amazing.
you
Yeah,
did
that-
start
now I know.
item,
Now I know.
you did...
You're overthinking it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, these methods exist.
Yeah.
This is a matter of me knowing the framework and knowing what methods exist and knowing what exists and knowing how to use them
Yeah.
from reading the docs. You know what I mean?
But since it exists and it's a built-in method,
Yeah.
the computer should know that you're trying to delete an item, so you don't actually have to.
No. So, no, it doesn't, right? It's not AI, right? We're using two different frameworks. It does not know what type of storage we're using. It does not know how to delete an item. Right? These methods as well, there's HTTP delete. It's not just for deleting JSON records. Like, you could send a HTTP delete method to a server, right? With just the name of a file, and then the server will delete that image or that file off the server. You know what I mean? Hook could be uploading a file. The body could be a file in it, right? So this is where you've got to understand HTTP and persistence are two different things. HTTP to get in that's just the method that you're specifying for the transport as to hitting the right end. The logic that you implement in there, how you delete or what you delete or where it's stored or what persistence you're using, well then that's up to you to put that logic in there. It doesn't know that, right? So when you're doing the delete here, all you're doing here is you're just registering an endpoint. Does that make sense? You're just saying, I'm making the path that's going to take this route argument, yeah? And it's for a delete method. And what happens inside it? Well, that's whatever you put in here. Right? You could be deleting in an SQL database. You know what I mean? Like you could be using whatever for persistence. It doesn't have to be node persist, sorry. I use node persist because it's the easiest, simplest, most lightweight node package there is for persisting data. Does that make sense? Like it's the easiest one to teach. It's the simplest one out there.
This is the easiest one.
Absolutely. This is like you would not use this in production. Right? It's a lightweight file storage for storing JSON objects. It's the simplest one that there is. Right? But so this is where you're going to understand we're using two different frameworks, but we're using them together, hand in hand. One of them for registering the endpoints, so our server can listen, right? And we can direct the request to the correct handler, right? The second one is node persist. So in that handlers, we can do our talking to the file persistence. Make sense? So we've got these two frameworks, these two node packages, node persist and express. We're using them hand in hand to create an overall solution. Yep. So the last one that I want to show you is put, and put just means update. Alright, so let me show you, can I just give you a quick example of that, yeah? And then you're done for the day. Sound like a plan?
Yes.
You got the video and everything, and the code from last week, right? So, or the code from Wednesday, and the video from Wednesday.
What video are you talking about?
Alright, well if you came on time, you would have,
I'll show you that.
if you got the right train,
Yes.
is it, you know?
I'll remember
No,
next time.
in the PD1 folder, do you
Yeah.
know there's a PD2 folder?
Yeah.
In the PD1 folder,
Yeah.
Smart Apps,
Yeah.
on Wednesday I actually made a video and copies of the sample, so
okay.
you can grab those videos,
Okay.
yeah?
Awesome. Thank you.
Alright, so put request, right, for updating. Does that make sense? For updating. Now let me show you how this works, yeah? So let me show you what I need to change. So the first thing I need to change is this from delete to what? Put, yeah? Now the second thing I need to do is I get the ID, because see how you get the ID from here, yeah? But the next thing that I want to do then is I want to get the updated object. Does that make sense? So I go let person equal request dot body. So can you see how I've done the same as the create here? Yeah? But guess what I've changed this to be? Storage dot update item. And guess what update item requires? It requires the key and the value. Now can I demonstrate this to you? Yeah? Let me show you how I use it. So let me restart. So watch this. Let me go get and get all people in the first instance, yeah? See how I've got 2 people? Yep. So let's pick Fred. Sound like a plan? So watch this. I'm going to grab Fred, right? And then what I'm going to do is from getting Fred, I'm going to change. Firstly, I'll get Fred's ID, and I'll put Fred's ID up here. Make sense? Then I'm going to change this to be put, yeah? Then I'm going to go to the body of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the existing object, okay? Now let's change some things. So what do we want to change the name to be? Let's just put 1 at the end of everything. Does that make sense? Just so we can see. So we change the name to Fred1. We'll change the age to 20231. We'll change the height to 7891. Mighty 1. But I'm not going to change the ID. Okay? Are you ready? Put request. I send it. You see it hit the breakpoint. Now watch this. If you have a look, see I've got the ID that was passed in. Now, can you see I've got the updated person? Mighty 1, Fred 1, see all of that? Now let me go to the files and let's have a look at Fred. Can you see this is the Fred that's stored on file now? Now watch what happens after this next step. Fred 1, 2000, see how I updated it? So to do the update, what did I pass in? The ID, yep. And the person, and it gives me an update result. See that? And I send that result back. And let's have a look. See that? It shows me the key. It shows me the new values. Pretty cool, huh? So now if I change this back to get, look, I'll just get Fred for the updated values. Yeah? And there's my put request. So what I'm going to do for you, y'all, is I'm going to stop and reveal in File Explorer, and I'm going to delete the node modules. Yep. And I just called it demo with today's date, if that's all right with everyone. Now I'll send to. Oh, there's no. Okay, demo, yep. Now I'll go to Student Drive, PD2, Smart Apps, Page, yep. So can you see there's today's demo?
Yeah.
You just have to run npm install, yeah? Because I deleted the node modules folder. But like I said, if you go into PD1, Smart Apps, can you see there's the 2 videos from last week?
Yeah.
And there's the same demo, yeah? With people.
We have to download Postman as well, right?
And you can download Postman for home, yep. Okay. So again, if I open it up now, because you saw that I just deleted the node modules, you need to install Visual, you need to install the node modules, yeah? See how there's no node modules folder? But the package.json knows them, yeah? So what do you need to run? npm install. Just npm install, it'll look at the package, and look, the node modules are back. and I'm all up and running again. I can go F5, we're all tickety boo, come up here, let's get all people. There we have. Yep. Alright, plenty for you to practice around with. So what have you done? You've done it all now, all CRUD, yeah? Create, read, update, delete. That's it.
Did you figure out the update?
Maybe when we almost got there, we were just missing the person, like the body.
Yeah,
So why do you need to do
we're
that?
So we're doing like, instead of ID, person, I did ID, and then did the object again.
Yeah.
So you're updating it in code instead of through the
So I wasn't getting the request, I was just updating it through the code. So every person I updated will become a Sue.
Yeah, right. You've got it now though?
Yeah.
Now a put actually, typically a put is what they know is, like let's say a record had 3 properties, X, Y and Z, right? And you only changed property Y. A put would actually update X, Y and Z, like you would actually pass the whole new object and overwrite the previous one.
Yeah.
Even though some of the fields are the same values. It's just complete override. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right, there is another one, and I'm not going to do it in this class, but there's another one called patch. And patch is actually way more surgical. And the object that you pass into the patch is just like a collection of what fields you want to update and what the new values of them are.
That's what I was doing.
And that's very surgical. Does that, you know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
patch is quite surgical,
So would it be like?
whereas a put is very blunt. It just overrides. You know, you just send a new object.
That's what we found.
And that's what we do with a put, yeah? And that's what I'm doing here with the update item. See, I'm just passing a whole new item in, overriding the previous one. Doesn't matter if some properties are the same, some are different. It's just like, rewrite, you know? It's like, remove the old one, here's the new one. Make sense? Yeah. So I'm not going to go into patch, like, because it's just, Diploma, you can start doing that when you start working with advanced REST APIs and open API, you know what I mean? And stuff like that, Graph API, but this is...
So when you do a patch, would it be like you'll get the ID, comma?
Depends on the API or the implementation of it, right? So different technologies have different APIs that expect different objects to be passed in that give an instruction. Yeah, and how do you know what objects?
You gotta read what it's asking for.
Read the docs.
What about just for
Yeah, again, I bring it up. Did you say that? Yeah.
Read the docs. I like that term.
Do you know how much reading I do?
A lot.
Shit is off the
Shitload.
wall, off the charts, man. It's crazy. Reading. It's just, I've learned so much from it.
Just reading. But isn't that individual to the library itself?
Sorry?
Like
And it's
the
reading all like the different ways to use the library. So all the
I read all the API docs.
all the API docs.
Yeah.
You crazy MFR.
That's how you learn, man. If you want to learn how to use a library, you read the API docs.
I barely do any reading myself.
Or in the modern ways.
Yeah.
So,
The
if you
modern
say you
ways,
go,
just YouTube the
I
answer.
suggest,
yes.
I suggest you take up reading.
Yeah, not my favourite thing in the world.
Well, you're not going to get far in IT if you don't like reading, I can tell you that.
Maybe IT will make the exception.
Huh?
I'll make the exception for IT, but anything else.
Except
Well,
IT is going to consume 99.9% of your time.
Yeah.
Right?
see the bright side. Before we had to buy the book to learn it. Now
Huh?
just before we had to buy the book.
Yeah, now it's all online.
Now it's online.
There's plenty of, yeah,
I'll
there's
take
plenty
that
to
for
read.
granted.
You've just got to read it
Yeah, just gotta read it.
and play around.
You can't use ChatGPT to.
It can't help you with other libraries and stuff like that. In fact, we've been playing around with it, and ChatGPT has actually been giving bad suggestions of libraries that don't even exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mihal was using it because he's doing some sort of rendering engine or something like that. And they're like, I'll use this library. It's like, library doesn't exist. Yeah, but it would be ideal, wouldn't it? Something like that.
that's a dream.
Yeah. Some of the deployment teams, they give the names to their teams, you know, and they're looking at names for their teams, and one of them, you know, asked Chat GPT, And it does come up with some bad things like code connoisseurs. You know, like
Just some BS.
yeah. Anyway, how's everyone going? Has everyone got the overall gist of it?
Why do you do
overall.
person in the
Yeah.
put update?
You've got the
Person
part, listen, you understand the part how Express is taking care of
Put
listening and
equals-
sending back requests.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what
put
the
one.
get, delete, and all that
Let
notice
person
are,
equal
yeah?
request
The
dot body.
storage, the notice is talking about, is for this part of it, right? So they're working hand in hand, right? So this gets the request, and whatever that request is, it's get and delete, then inside it we implement the logic to do whatever it has to do.
That seems to be different.
Adding one or
Music
reading them
recording.
out or updating one, yeah?
So this request body.
So essentially what we've
That's
done,
grabbing
really,
the
is record management,
So
okay,
everything that you have in this
of
body
data,
will get
but we've done this
pulled
management
into,
and we've got
this
exposed
body.
API endpoints, HTTP
Right.
endpoints,
and that's what you want.
Yeah?
The item.
that allow people to
Okay,
insert
full
update
changing this
data.
file
Does
was
that make
you want
sense?
to change from
So it would say it's an
Person.
exposed API
So-
endpoint,
So
yeah?
this one, right?
So meaning it's an
When you're
available,
getting
it's
the person,
exposed, it's
that's
an
just-
endpoint, right?
oh, wait.
That people can
So
make a
if you post it,
HTTP
right?
request in.
It's the person.
Right, so we've given an
is-
exposed API endpoint
Like,
for
person equals
inserting
request body. So
updates
that's
and
when you
deleting
first have the
data.
person.
Yeah,
So that's the
Very
exact
common.
same, like,
very
line
common. Yeah.
as this one here.
In fact, now
This is just adding
Microsoft
a
has even got this
And
thing
then you set the
called
ID and things.
Power Platform,
And then here,
and it's an online
It's
app
just,
development
again,
thing, right?
the
And it's a
yeah,
different thing.
so
But
that was-
basically,
that
all you
was
do
grabbing the
is you just
ID
define
that's
the database
set
name, like
here.
person, with ID name or whatever,
that
and then it will
body
automatically generate the
is
API
what
for you.
is getting
So
sent.
just, you don't have
and
to
then
write a
there's
line of
no
code.
request.
You know what I mean? It's just, it looks at the
Thanks, mate.
table
Appreciate it.
and it knows how to do it. But that's a very powerful development tool, you know? There it is.
there it is.
Cruddy, Express, Node, Persist.
You really
Yes. That's fine. Yes, yeah, because this is the same as declaring any parameter for a function.
And then this is that the body is okay, this is the parameter that I'm using for the body.
Yeah, whatever name you give it is whatever name it has to be there, yeah? But Express,
It's a built-in.
yeah, because when the request comes in, Express first gets it, and then it sees what the path is for it, it matches it to one of these handlers, along with the method that was being used, like, right? And then what we'll do is it'll pass the request and response objects in. And it'll pass them in this order, so you could call this X and this Y. It doesn't matter what you call them, right? But you'll know that the first one's gonna be the request object, and the second one's gonna be the response, okay? And that object's provided by the Express framework. When the request comes in, it passes it in. So yes, request is an Express object, and it does have a property called body. Right? Because that makes it just like response has got a method called JSON to send JSON back in the response. Yeah? And again, that's learning the library, you know? All good? Alright, make sure you get a copy of the video and save it, or whatever you want to do. Sorry? There's two. There's two videos, and I go exactly through this. So,
is this something you've taught before?
so you know what we do next? Now that we've done this part, next term, instead of Postman, we're going to develop a mobile application to talk to our REST API. Sound like a plan? Yeah?
Mobile apps.
Huh? Mobile app?
And this is mobile apps. Yep, straight into it now. Resource.
So, for all of our learning, we've learned to write 55 lines of code. And look, most of those are comments. Look, if I take the comments out, look,
Is there a way to do that? Bulk?
Nope.
if I take the comments out for you, let's see. And I could probably even simplify some of this down a bit more, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll keep the space there, yeah? Now here, I could probably, my glasses,
crazy.
Oh, they're in my case. Right, so here I could probably even simplify this a little bit. Look, I could just go, see that? And then I could just go person ID to string, see here, yep. There we go. And that's that handler done. Now we do this one. Now here, I could actually just return, instead of putting people into another variable, see I could just put that straight in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Say some line.
Yeah. In fact, watch this. Because this guy here is only going to be the one line, look what else I can do. I can actually just do the whole get for all of the people. See that? That should be happy. Why are you not happy? Oh, it wants the body. App get async response. Unless it wants me to. No, it does want me to wrap it. Anyway, I'll wrap it in that. I thought it was just returning, so.
I think you have one too many brackets in it.
No, you know what it doesn't like? It doesn't like the await. Oh no, that's okay. Oh no, it's happy there. Well, that'll do. You get the point, yeah? Probably pushing it too much. Now this one, ID request params ID. Look, I don't have to store that in another thing. I can just put that straight in there. See that?
Mm-hmm.
So I can get rid of that. And then get rid of this. In fact, this whole line here, I can just put this all in the one return statement, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, see that? Response.send, my delete. Okay, the result here, I could do the same thing here. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then I could even just put this in here, yeah? Instead of storing it in another variable. See that? Then, the last one, here, what I could do is the ID is just this ID, yeah? Okay? And then the person is request body, so I could just pass that straight in, yeah? Get rid of that. And if you look at it, I'm just getting the result from this and returning that, so I could just put this straight in there, yeah? There we are. So now, what am I down to? Look, if I get rid of them and put all of these together, all my handlers together, yeah? Really trying to simplify it. There you go. What am I at? 27 lines of code. Can you see that? Does that make sense to everyone?
There's a lot.
Huh?
In terms of, I know you're just shortening down, but for the sake of readability, would you, if you were to read this file just without knowing, would you like it like this? Or would you like it with like broken down steps?
So look, it depends on what we're doing. So I'm doing it like this to really simplify it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, look how much I can even simplify it more. Look.
Yeah.
See, I can just put them into the one-liners. Hey, look.
Yeah.
Except the post, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of the situation is, you would not have it this compressed, right? And another reason for that being is because typically you're going to need more logic in your handlers, like validation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like checking if something actually existed, or, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just showing you, if I was to really break it down, yeah?
Yeah.
I could even whack this in here, couldn't I? Yeah? See that? Now if you have a look at it, you see, it's not a lot of code, is it?
Definitely not long.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
18 lines, and watch, I'll restart it. Let's make sure it works, yeah? With 18 lines of code, let's try and get all people. That worked. Let's try and post and create a new person. So I'll go post. Let's go to the body. So who do we post? Anyone?
Jake.
Jake? And what age is Jake?
21.
Height?
6'1", 6'1".
Title?
Adult.
Sir. And we don't need an ID. Does that make sense? Yeah? Well, let's make it doctor. There you go. How's that? Dr. Jake. Alright, so post. Well, that seemed to work, didn't it? Yep. Okay, so let's do a get for just Jake. Yeah? So I'll change this up. Get just Jake. There's just Jake. Yeah? Let's delete Jake. Oh no, let's update Jake. Let's call it, let's make Jake 31. Make sense? Right, and I'll push it. And let's change it from doctor to maiden. Maiden Jake. There we go. Alright. Put request. Put request. Yep. Send. Look at that. Maiden Jake. Yep. 31. Change it back. Let's make it sir. Send. Sir Jake. Yep. And if I get just Jake, you can see that's just Sir Jake. Yep. Now if I delete Jake, Jake's been removed. If I try to do it again, see false because it didn't exist. Right? But now if I go get all people, did I forget anything? No? So can you see all of the functionality that I'm able to do with my HTTP client API endpoint for managing records, inserting, update, deleting data? Right? And look at that. Not a lot, is it?
It's barely readable. Like maybe, but like for me it's kind of complicated.
For you it's kind of complicated.
No, I mean like, but it's barely readable.
Oh, now?
Yeah.
I can read that.
Well, I'm sure you can. It's just, for me it's kind of difficult. It's much more easier to read when I see all these variables and how they connect.
Well, that's
to
why
each
when
other.
I'm teaching it, I break it down and do all of the variables,
Yeah,
you
that
know?
makes sense.
But you can see here what I've done, just to show you. Yeah? Like, everything we've learned has built up to just doing this. Yeah?
Well, set 18 lines of code, not even.
But if you think about it, it's some pretty complex, sophisticated things that we've learned. Like ifs, async functions. We've gone through the whole thing of learning functions from traditional functions to arrow functions. You know what I mean? We've gone through learning about passing functions into functions. Now, is this starting to make more sense to you now that we're actually using it a lot more?
Mm-hmm.
Right, you can see app_get is a function, isn't it, right? We've created this new app object and it's got a method that registers a get endpoint. So we have to give it that, but then what do we have to pass in? A function that it will invoke whenever a new HTTP request for that endpoint comes in, you know? So, all right, everyone. Next week, blindfolds.
What was that Postman file that you gave us?
So, is that because you want to install it at home?
Yep.
Well, you just, do you know what I'll do? I'll go download Google Postman,
Okay.
and then I'll click on it and download Postman.
You only done a portable file just to put on these computers.
That's right, because I don't have admin permission on
Oh,
those
okay.
computers.
So it's just the same thing. You just download that. Yeah.
So you can just download that and just do a normal install like anything, yeah? But Google provided it as a tool for interacting and working with and developing REST API endpoints.
Mm.
Or HTTP endpoints, yeah? API endpoints. Pretty cool, huh?
Pretty cool. Alright.
Like, I can see the general idea of why we do this, why we do this, but I'm not sure if I understand, like, I'm not sure that I completely understand the logic for some of the parts.
What's the process?
Yeah, like, for example, I'm not sure how yeah, that's kind of awkward, but I'm not sure how the await works, or like a sync. I know I know that we need to use it to create like multi multi-threading, I suppose.
Multi-threading. Yeah,
Yeah.
it starts up another process that's
Yeah,
not synchronized,
I'm getting that.
and we wait for that process to finish.
Like, it's at the same time, it's just basically creating, it just executes
Look,
this process. and this
to be
time.
honest, even in another 2 years, you'll still be getting some of the finer concepts of promises and asynchronous programming with JavaScript, right? Like it's not an easy concept, but we have to sort of do it. You know what I mean? Because any file IO corporation is only going to do it with asynchronous methods available from the libraries. You know.
Yeah,
So
I'm getting it. Like,
yeah.
the point is, like, I'm not sure how this works, but like, I'm getting the general idea how to implement it.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's that whole thing, Andre. Like you don't understand how the inside of the engine works in the car, but you know how to drive it.
You
You know what I
dedicate whole
mean?
life.
You don't understand how everything works inside the Express and the Node Persist libraries, but you know how to use them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I think I can like copy and paste like some other library or function and like then just leave it edited and like have no idea how this works. It works with the data that I use.